Right now, above your roof, there's more drinking water floating in the air than your family will use in the next 10 years. You can't see it, but it's there, in every breath, every breeze, every cool night. In 1930, two European engineers tried to pull that water down without a pump, without a well, without a single watt of electricity. One of them built a 14-meter stone tower in the south of France. It still stands today, completely empty. The other figured out something so simple that the modern atmospheric water industry now sells the same idea for $30,000. His name was nearly erased. His blueprint costs you under $15 to build in your own backyard. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one worked, why the wrong one got famous, and how to set up a small version this weekend. The first man was a Belgian engineer named Achille Nappen. In 1930, he set up in a small town called Trans-en-Provence in the south of France and started building a tower, 14 meters tall, walls 3 meters thick. Hundreds of air vents cut through the masonry on every face. Inside, he installed a concrete column covered in slate projections designed to give passing air every possible surface to deposit moisture on. It took years to complete. People came from across Europe to see it. The structure still stands today, mostly hollow, slowly being reclaimed by weeds. The second man was a German chemist named Wolf Klapprott. He worked at the same time, in Dalmatia, on the dry coastal hills of what's now Croatia. No tower, no investors, no plaque. What Klapprott actually did sounds too simple to bother with. He cleared a hillside of grass. He smoothed the soil. Then he stretched a lightweight cover over the cleared section, raised a few feet off the ground, and walked away. That was his system. That was the whole thing. Both men were trying to solve the same problem with the same physics. Both knew that air carries water vapor, and that when that air cools below a certain temperature, the water condenses out as liquid. You've seen this every morning of your life. On the grass, on a windshield, on the side of a cold glass, sitting in summer air. The principle isn't a secret. The trick is making it happen on a surface you can collect from. Knappen's tower produced almost nothing. A few liters on a good day. Klapprott's empty hillside produced water nearly every morning, year after year, in conditions where his neighbors said it shouldn't be possible. The reason why is the part the modern water industry would prefer you didn't think too hard about. To understand why these men cared in the first place, you need to picture rural Europe in 1930. Cities had municipal water by then. Villages didn't. Most farms ran on hand-dug wells that went dry by August in a bad year. Cisterns collected rain off rooftops, but a long drought meant rationing or hauling water by donkey from miles away. Crops failed. Livestock died. Families went hungry. The economy of a small village rose and fell on whether the well held that summer. When you understand that, the obsession of these engineers stops sounding eccentric. They were trying to solve the most pressing security problem of their region: how to put a stable water supply behind every farmhouse without depending on rain that might not come. They both believed the answer was floating right above their heads. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because it's the same situation a lot of American families are starting to face again, not in exactly the same form, but in the same direction. Wells running shallow across the Southwest. Drought restrictions in Texas and California. Municipal rates climbing every year. Most people don't think of water as a backyard concern, but every garden you grow, every chicken you raise, every fruit tree you plant runs on it. Water security and food security are the same conversation. The 1930s engineers noticed. They just disagreed sharply on the solution. And the disagreement came down to one piece of physics that most people get exactly backwards. Klapprott's method works on a principle called radiative cooling. At night, any surface that has a clear view of the open sky radiates heat upward. The sky, on a cloudless night, acts like an enormous cold sink. A thin, light surface raised off the ground and shielded from below will lose heat to the sky much faster than the surrounding air does. It can drop 5 to 15 degrees colder than the air around it, with zero energy input. That cold surface becomes a magnet for water vapor. Air that touches it cools to its dew point, and the moisture condenses out as liquid. Klapprott's canopy over a smooth slope did exactly this. The thin cover lost heat fast all night long. The shaded ground beneath it stayed cool through the morning, sheltered from the sun. Moisture collected on the underside of the cover and on the soil itself. He wrote that on most days in Dalmatia, the system produced water. The exceptions were the rare ones, not the rule. He found that even on mornings where no visible dew formed anywhere else in the region, his shaded surface was several degrees cooler than expected, and the water came anyway. His canopy weighed almost nothing. The lightness was the point. And here's the part Noppen never figured out, even after years of watching his own tower fail. Look at Noppen's tower again with that physics in mind, and you'll see why it never had a chance. Aix-en-Provence had everything a Belgian engineer of 1930 thought you needed. Massive thermal mass, hundreds of internal surfaces, carefully designed air channels. The theory was that during the day, hot, humid air would flow through the vents, hit the cool stone interior, and deposit its water on the slate. At night, the whole structure would shed heat and reset for the next morning. The problem is that thick stone doesn't reset overnight. 3 meters of masonry holds heat the way a cast iron skillet holds heat. By the time the sun comes back up, the interior of that tower is barely cooler than the air around it. There was no temperature gap, no condensation surface. The same physics that made Klapprott's canopy work were actively working against Knoppen's tower. He spent a fortune building a monument that could never function the way he imagined. He died believing the design just needed more refinement. It didn't. It needed to be lighter. In water harvesting from air, mass is the enemy. You don't want a heavy structure, you don't want thick walls, you don't want anything that takes hours to cool down. You want the lightest, thinnest, most exposed surface you can stand up, because that's the only kind of surface that can drop below the dew point fast enough to do real work. Once you see this, you start to notice it everywhere in nature. Spider silk pulls water from morning fog because the threads weigh almost nothing. Pine needles condense more dew per gram than oak branches do. Even the back of a desert beetle, the famous fog drinker of the Namib, works because the bumps on its shell are tiny and exposed. So why did the wrong blueprint get famous? Because Noppen built a tower you could photograph. Engineering journals of the 1930s wrote about him because his work looked like work. 14 meters of stone is a story. Reporters drove out to Aix-en-Provence. The mayor cut a ribbon. The local paper called it a marvel of modern science. Klapprott had a smoothed hillside with a piece of fabric over it. There was nothing to photograph. There was no ribbon to cut. He published his findings in technical bulletins that few people read outside a small circle of agronomists. When the war came, his work scattered. By the time anyone in the West went looking for it again, the modern water industry was already busy selling pumps and filtration systems and pipes. That's the real reason monuments win, not because they work better, because they look like they should. Knoppen's tower is on tourist maps in Provence. Klapprott's name barely shows up in a search. Most engineers today have never heard of him. Now look at the choice in front of you. Open any browser and search atmospheric water generator. You'll find devices priced anywhere from $2,000 to $30,000. Steel housings, compressors, fans, filters that need replacing every 6 months, service contracts. Behind every one of them is the same physics Klapprott published nearly 100 years ago. They're cooling a surface below the dew point. That's the whole machine. I'm not saying those generators don't work. They do. I'm saying the principle behind them never required any of that. Every dollar above 15 is paying for the housing, the warranty, the marketing, and the convenience of plugging it in. The physics itself costs almost nothing. The choice in front of you is paying $30,000 for a packaged version of an idea or building a working version of the same idea this weekend with hardware store parts. The first feels professional. The second is what your great-grandfather would have done if the knowledge had stayed in your family. Both pull water from the same sky. Quick pause here. If you're getting something out of this video, hit subscribe. This channel is for people who treat their backyard as part of their food supply. Here's the build. You need a thin sheet of material, polyethylene or thin metal, large enough to give you a few square feet of surface, about $3 to $5 at any hardware store. You need a piece of foam insulation to back the sheet, so it can only lose heat upward and not downward into the ground. $3 or $4. You need a simple frame of PVC or scrap wood to hold the sheet at a 30-degree angle facing the open sky, $2 or $3. And you need a length of cheap gutter or a half pipe of PVC at the bottom edge to catch what runs off, another few dollars. Total cost lands somewhere between $12 and $15 depending on what you have lying around. Mount the whole assembly 2 or 3 feet off the ground, somewhere with a clear view of the sky, not under a tree, not under a porch roof. The sheet has to be able to see the cold sky overnight or it won't cool down. This works just as well on a small patio or a flat garage roof as it does on a half-acre lot, which means it's practical for compact backyards too. In favorable conditions, expect roughly half a liter of water per square meter of surface per night. A panel 4 feet by 4 feet will produce somewhere between a half liter and a full liter on most clear nights. More in humid coastal climates, less in dry inland areas. Scale up the surface, and the yield scales with it. For a backyard, you don't need anything close to industrial output. You need enough to know it works and to push your water security a little further away from total dependence on the tap. A few mistakes will guarantee you reproduce Noppen's failure instead of Klapprott's success. Don't use heavy materials. Bricks, concrete blocks, paving stones, none of them work. They hold heat too long. Don't lay the sheet flat on the ground. Ground heat will keep the underside warm and prevent condensation. The whole assembly has to be elevated and insulated from below. Don't put it in a sheltered corner. Trees, porch overhangs, and tall fences block the sky and kill the radiative cooling effect. Open exposure is the part you can't compromise on. Don't expect daytime performance. This is a nighttime system. Collect in the early morning before the sun warms the surface, and store what you gather in a covered container. And don't drink the water without filtering. Atmospheric water is cleaner than most surface water to start with, but the sheet itself can pick up dust, pollen, or pollutants, depending on where you live. A simple charcoal filter handles all of that for a few dollars. Here's how I'd start if I were standing in your shoes. Build one small panel this weekend. Don't go big. A 2-foot by 3-foot version will tell you everything you need to know about how the principle behaves in your climate, in your specific yard, with your specific exposure. Run it for a week. Measure what you collect each morning. Note which nights produced more, which produced less, and what the weather looked like. Once you have your own data, you can decide whether to scale up, build a second unit, or shift to a different method better suited to your conditions. Where are you watching from? Drop your state or region in the comments. I'm curious how many of you are in climates where this method would do real work, because the South Central and Pacific Coast regions are particularly well suited, and most of the audience here probably hasn't considered that. The 1930s left us 2 blueprints, one famous and useless, one forgotten and powerful. The forgotten one is what your great-grandfather might have used if the knowledge had stayed in your family. It still works, and it still costs less than $15 to build. The atmosphere above your house holds more water than your family will ever need, and now you know one way to start collecting it. If this video gave you something useful, hit like and subscribe. The channel is built for people who want their backyard to feed a family. I'd build the small panel this weekend before reading another article on the subject. The first morning you walk out and find water in the gutter that you didn't pay anyone for, your whole sense of what a backyard can do shifts for good.